if you have a human that is living something that's not true, they're going to look for opportunities to prove that throughout their lives. Also, counseling is not designed to fix someone. It's not designed to diagnose. It is merely a self-reflective tool that allows someone to go deeper and to cultivate powerful relationships with themselves and with the people that are around. People are more concerned with capitalistic gain than they are concerned with the things that are really important, which is connection. When I go into a room or when I'm with someone, I'm thinking, does my presence enable this person to feel more love for themselves?
Welcome to another episode of Meet the Expert on ExpertEase. In this episode, we meet Stone Gye, a US combat veteran, neurodivergent counselor, strategist, and founder of StoneGye.Agency. He's also the initiator and facilitator of our weekly online networking sessions at ExpertEase every Wednesday, creating space for real, purposeful connections. Stone brings a strong presence and a bold vision for the future. He combines smart technology, deep community support, and fresh ways of thinking to help people thrive around the world. In this conversation, Stone shares how to build meaningful networks, use technology with intention, and empowering spaces where neurodivergent individuals can grow. Let's dive into Stone's world where tech and community come together to shape a better future for everyone. Hi, Stone. Welcome to today's episode.
Good morning.
So, Stone, you are a neurodivergent counselor. So, as a neurodivergent counselor, what's the common challenge that you see within your clients' base, and how does it show up in their daily lives?
I would say the number one challenge that my clients experience is something called internalized ableism, which is where the world says that this is the way you're meant to behave. And so they take on those attributes and they try to behave in a particular way, but that's not their natural way of being. So if you look at WHO statistics about masking and some of the co-occurring conditions for people who are neurodivergent, they live 36 years less than neurotypical counterparts. So being aware of internalized ableism is very important.
Oh, wow. How does it work being you, a neurodivergent counselor yourself? I mean, how does your perspective actually shape your coaching, counseling style with this population?
That's a pretty good question. I think because I spent so much of my life trying to fix myself, I have a lot of empathy for what my clients are going through. And because of my proclivities, I've always wanted to know everything. I've researched, I've tried to conduct my own firsthand research. I've tried everything and I wouldn't stop until I could find an answer. And so I guess that fastidious nature that I have of wanting to know more, to be better, it's a real advantage for my clients, because I've been at the bottom, I've been below the bottom, so it gives me a lot of empathy and compassion for what they're going through. So the lived experience, along with my professional experience as a counselor, I think that gives my clients an advantage that they wouldn't have if they were to see, say, another professional that has just read it in a book.
Mm-hmm. And what's the value of working with the counselor in general?
Yeah, well, that the answer to that is how long is a piece of string. The relationships that we have in our life are what contribute to our quality of life. And the first relationship that we have is with self. And And for a lot of people on the planet, they live their entire life thinking that the noise that's in their head is thoughts. And for the most part, these are not thoughts. These are repetitions. It's like a record. Sorry, I just dated myself by saying a record player. It's a song on repeat, and these aren't really thoughts. For a lot of my clients, a lot of adults, period, they had something happen to them as a child, and then they made that mean something. And as they become adults, they never challenge that. And so if you have a human that is living something that's not true, they're going to look for opportunities to prove that throughout their life. So I'll give you an example. So let's take someone who might say that they're unlovable or unworthy. If they were to do that as a child, and then they start doing that as an adult, they're not going to be able to have effective relationships. And so if you ask what is the benefit of counseling, a different question could be, what is the benefit of having deep, purposeful relationships? What is the benefit of being able to look deeply into oneself and know what are all the internal mechanics that are causing one to think, behave, feel, and notice certain things? Also, counseling is not designed to fix someone. It's not designed to diagnose. It is merely a self-reflective tool that allows someone to go deeper and to cultivate powerful relationships with themselves and with the people that are around them.
So what's the trigger for most of the people that come to see you? Like, at what point do they say, I need to get some help?
Yeah, well, it's always when someone is in crisis or there's a problem. For instance, if there's a breakup, I tend to get a lot of people who come to me for that. Some type of life-changing scenario. For instance, maybe they're about to lose their job or they're going into a new career. These are probably over 90% of the people that I see have that type of scenario happening. And which, that's human nature. If everything is going fine, we figure out this. I say I'm making a generalization about humans. Humans tend to create a homeostasis when things are fine, and they're not going to move unless there's a problem. So
how do you lead your consultation? Like, do you have a method, or like, how do you enable your clients to start speaking? Because it may not always be easy for you as a counselor and as a neurodivergent counselor to get the other to open up, to start the conversation, and to really get into the issue that's really hindering them in their daily lives.
Yeah, well, counseling is it's actually quite easy for me, because it's just it's a circumstance of asking questions. And when I'm asking a question with one of my clients, I just keep asking more and more questions until I find the question that resonates with them, and they can start to go deeper. So there's this thing in NLP, when you're trying to have someone say yes, you might ask closed questions. So you might ask a yes question. For instance, if I was at a inspirational meeting or whatever, and I said, okay, raise your hand who would like $1,000 right now, or who would like $1 million right now, and everyone is who would like wonderful health? Yes. So by pacing people and getting them into that's called a yes state, I'm able to take someone into a space where they can start to be resourceful for themselves. I'm also a hypnotherapist, so in my counseling sessions, I do bring those modalities. into the session. And there's full transparency with my clients. I think there is a myth that hypnotherapists can have their clients do something that they don't want to do, and that is completely false. Hypnotherapy will only support you to do the things that you're interested in, the things that you're committed to.
Mm-hmm. So what's the frequency of the consultation for your clients? Would that depend on their needs, or would that depend on what you see for them?
Yeah, it really depends on what's happening for the client. Sometimes people who are in crisis, they want to stop in once a week. Others are fine with every fortnight or every month. It really depends on the person. In Australia, everyone gets between 10 to 20 complimentary mental health sessions with a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that. So mental health it's a thing here where they take care of it. They see it as important as physical health.
It's worth mentioning that you provide consultations all over the world because you do them online. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. All my sessions are virtual, which works out really well because some neurodivergent people don't enjoy the travel and they don't enjoy the face-to-face, like being present in physical proximity with someone. And a video call gives them, I don't know, a bit of security in knowing that they could easily just push a button and leave if they feel too uncomfortable.
If you've been enjoying today's video and feel like Stone could help you, you can definitely reach out to him directly on ExpertEase. Just download the app, send him a message, and request a one-on-one session. It may be exactly what you need. I swear, you won't regret it.
So, Stone, you've had many lives, right?
Done a bit. I've been on the planet today.
What inspired you to become a neurodivergence counselor and serve the neurodivergent community?
Well, as I mentioned before, for most of my life, I was trying to fix myself. And how I started to fix air quote, fix myself is I became a coach. So, and I did all the things. I did NLP, I became a trainer. I had some type of position in ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation. I was doing all this stuff. And then I had some type of situation happen. I can't remember what it was, but I went and saw my doctor, and she said, oh yeah, I think maybe you might be autistic. And at the time, I didn't know, I had not heard of that, and I didn't know what it was. And
how old were you back then?
Oh, golly, this was maybe 7 years ago. So it's been fairly recent. So my late 40s. And so when she said that, at first I was like, oh, okay, this is new. But I didn't get upset. I was just, oh, okay, because I'm always curious about what else is there? What else can I learn about myself? And so I went through the process. I got the diagnosis, and it's been absolutely wonderful getting to know the real me. Because there are so many things that I tolerated, that I lived with, that I just dealt with, and I never had to do that if I had just told the truth to myself, that there were certain things that I wasn't comfortable with, that I wasn't going to do. And it's that way for many neurodivergent people. They mask a lot, and it's even more insidious for women because their diagnostic criteria is different, and it's more difficult to tell if a woman is neurodivergent or not, because women have 10,000 more neurons in their communication center, so they're more skilled at masking than men are. Also a generalization, but statistically it shows it's true.
Wow. And how do you feel today with your new role as a counselor, having had many types of careers? You were in the army before, you've done a lot of things.
Yeah, it explains a lot. The fact that I'm neurodivergent, it explains why I took on so many different careers. I would be interested in one thing and I would go learn that. And the advantage that it gives me as a counselor is because I have such breadth and diversity, I can meet my clients wherever they are, whether they're a student or they're a professor or they're a medical professional. I've done so many things. And that's not to say that I can only serve people who are in a particular industry. There are some commonalities. There are some things that bring all of the experiences that I have together. The biggest thing that it does is it gives me more empathy and compassion for some of the things that my clients are negotiating.
So you, as a neurodivergent coach, counselor, do you get to have your own counselor as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't really do this job and not have support. If I were to go see a psychologist and they don't have someone that they also work with, I would not work with that person. Same thing if I'm working with another counselor, I'm not going to go see them if they don't also have support, because this work, whatever helping profession someone is in, they tend to take on a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy stuff, and we're only human beings. We can't take on that kind of weight on a daily basis and not be impacted, not have a way of managing it. So absolutely, yeah, I don't mess around with that.
And how do you evacuate all the stress that you may get from listening to your clients? And I mean, I'm sure the stories may not be always very easy for them. So how do you manage to keep yourself sane and not be so much impacted by the heaviness of their stories and their life?
Well, I have a few advantages. One, I'm mature. I'm older. I've experienced quite a bit. Two, I realize that what they're going through, that's not my stuff. It's not my personal stuff. So because they're coming to me, I'm the professional in the equation. I can have a more objective approach to what they're doing, yet still being empathetic enough to be next to them, to be with them, metaphorically hold their hand while they're going through it. I probably the biggest thing, though, in addition to my training, it would be life experience, and that's something that can't be taught. You just got to go through it. I see a lot of younger people who are trying to become psychologists and work in mental health. And while I applaud them for their efforts, most of the younger people that I've seen, they don't really last, because some of the things that they go through, it's too much for your average human. You get a kid who's 18, 20, they go into uni, they become a psychologist, maybe they go the whole way, and they become a clinical psychologist, and now they're in their late 20s as a no, that's not going to work. You need to have some experience to be able to deal with some of the challenges that accompany being human.
Being neurodivergent, I believe it can be very challenging, but I also believe that you, Stone, you have some superpowers. I know how you manage your life and what you do. I mean, a bit of what you do. And I'm like always amazed at the stamina that you have. And, so what are your superpowers, and are you actually aware of them? That's actually a good question.
Yeah. Okay. So that is also a bit of a myth that neurodivergent people have superpowers. We're just like everyone else. It's just that our mind is wired differently. And as far as the challenges in being neurodivergent, the challenges are similar to, I'll make an analogy. It's like being black. There isn't a problem being black. The problem is how we're treated. Or being a woman. If you're a woman in a male-dominated industry, the problem is not being a woman. The problem is how you're treated in the industry. And it's similar to being neurodivergent. So in the DSM-5, and there have been several iterations after that, it's called autism spectrum disorder. And I don't see what I have as a disorder. I notice that I have hyperfocus. I notice that I can take multiple thoughts and aggregate them into something that's cohesive. It's how I'm building a city. It's how I'm able to bring together large groups of people, and even though they're all focusing on different aspects of a singular project, they get really excited about the project because they're doing their bit that they're really excited about. So I have a skill set of being able to see what people really want for their lives. And that has been because I've had to focus on what I'm skilled at, what I'm an expert at, rather than focusing on my deficiencies. I think there's what is this thing in marketing where they talk about your strengths and weaknesses and that quadrant.
The SWOT.
Yeah, the SWOT. Yeah, they used to teach in business. I always ignored that. There's zero chance that I'm going to focus on my weaknesses. I would rather hire someone who can deal with that bit and I can stay in my flow.
Have you always been good in communication, and you have, did you work on your communication skills? Because also the way you use language, the way you articulate ideas is very Stone-like.
Yeah, well, I work on it every day. I've been working on the way I communicate. I think the first personal development book I got was in my, I think it was 18, the first personal development book I got. And before that, I was a prolific reader. I was reading, I started reading when I was 3 years old, and I was hooked. And I kept reading. I spent a lot of time in the library. But the ability to communicate and developing that skill set has been it's an ongoing journey in the same way that I would breathe. And I started that originally because I wanted to be more effective at connecting with people. And it had a follow-on effect where I started to learn more about myself, started to hear some of the secret internal voices that I didn't know were running my life. And now I have access to them.
So what's one insight or lesson that you learned throughout your neurodivergent counseling journey that you didn't know before?
The biggest thing that I learned is that it has to do with internalized ableism. Because of the way the neurotypical world identifies neurodivergent people, we're already wrong. We're already a problem. We're already disabled. Matter of fact, I went to the WHO website today and was reading one of the reports where it was saying that 1 in 3 people on the planet is having an early mortality issue due to some type of neurological problem, and that they're looking at all these different markets, and it's increasing globally. And so as I was reading it, it was talking about all these problems about being different, and until the planet decides that being different is not a bad thing, it's just different. Like there's different genders, there's different people groups. Until we decide that it's okay, I think we're going to continue to have a challenge in that area. So the biggest thing for me was learning that there's nothing wrong with me. And now I had someone tell me the other day, you weren't born that way. You probably got some vaccination and I was just, okay, well, I can't talk to you. So yeah, I mean, it's now that I have a better grasp on who I am, and that's still an evolving process. I don't have to tolerate any shenanigans. I get to be fully complete and beautiful me, and something I'm able to share with my clients.
Definitely, that's wonderful. So, Stone, are you ready for the second part of this video questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? All right. So what's one question you wish people ask you more often?
Oh, I wish people would ask me more frequently, what is a way to allow more love? I wish people would ask that more, because that's what we are. And obviously there isn't a specific answer to it, but just asking it opens a world of possibility. I think most human beings, at least the human beings that I've come in contact with, there's this word that I absolutely can't stand. Starts with an S. But people use that all willy-nilly to just throw it around. Oh, you got to be S and you got to do this. And ugh. People are more concerned with capitalistic gain than they are concerned with the things that are really important, which is connection. So yeah, that's the question I want people to ask more. And even if they don't ask me, if they could ask it inside, that'd be great.
What are 3 tools or habits you can't live without?
Oh.
And I already know one.
Yeah. That's my mindfulness practice, being in the garden, and being with my children. Those are my must-haves.
Oh, that's wonderful. So I got it wrong. I thought you were going to say your matcha cashew latte. The big one. Okay, didn't make it in the top 3.
Yeah, so. that didn't make the top 3. Yeah, that might be 5 or 6.
Okay. All right. Any book recommendations, Stone, or any favorite quotes that you live by?
That's way too difficult. I do read a lot, and quotes are also quite difficult for me because I'll read a quote and I'll think, nah, I can do better. So I will rewrite the quote. I think my focus tends to be on the things that are going to allow me to be more of what I am, which is love. So when I go into a room or when I'm with someone, I'm thinking, does my presence enable this person to feel more love for themselves? And so that's not a quote, but that's what that's the greater percentage of my thoughts and my being and how I navigate the world.
I was going to ask you for a last word, but do you think that was your last word, or maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, that is my last word. I've been interested probably for the past 15 years in collective actualization, and I don't know that there are any places on the planet where we can experience that. I do know that the pathway to that is allowing us to be more loved.
And this is an open message to everyone, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and a lot of the things that we've discussed, even though it's specific to neurodivergent people, this is relevant to everyone. And it doesn't take anything to listen to someone. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful gifts that you can give to actively listen to someone's story and watch how they just relax and become themselves, and all the stress and anxiety or whatever they've been dealing with melts away just because you give them an opportunity to share what's happening in the world. You don't have to be a counselor to do that.
Thank you so much, Stone. That was very refreshing. I learned so much every time I talk to you. So I hope our viewers have as well. Everyone, you can contact Stone directly on the ExpertEase app. You can have him for you guys for a full hour. That's like, wow, such a privilege. Thank you again so much, Stone. People can find you directly on the app. You can download the app, type in the search bar StoneGye, and you'll be able to message Stone directly. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.